And good evening. It is Dr. D, and it's so happy to be with you tonight. Tonight I'm going to be talking about promises. How many times have people promised you something or you promised something and it never happened? Why is that? And I'm going to make a statement before we do our breathing exercise tonight, and that is this, and I want you to hear me when I say this. Trouble doesn't develop character. It reveals character. Can I say that again? Trouble doesn't develop character. It reveals character. And tonight, before I begin my talk, let's take a moment to center ourselves. Let's take a moment to be in the present moment. Because you see, when we're in this present moment, we're not in the past and we're not in the future. And any time that change can occur, it always occurs in the present. Not only does it occur in the present, but the present, why is it called the present? Because it is a present to us. It is a gift to us. This moment that you're spending with me is not only a gift to you, but it's a gift to me also. So in this moment, let us breathe through our nose to the count of 4, and then we'll exhale. And as we exhale, we're going to exhale anxiety, depression, whatever it comes to your mind that you need to let go of. We're going to do that in this moment in time. Now, you say, oh, it sticks around. Well, guess what? For this moment, let it go. And if you really want it, pick it up after the show. It's hanging around somewhere if you want to pick it up. Myself, I don't want to pick it up. I just let it go. So right now, take a deep breath. Inhale. And feel the essence of spirit, the essence of pure love going through your lungs, through your heart, through your body. Exhale any anxiety. Oh, inhale. Inhale. Feel that peace coming down through your throat, through your heart. You know, that heart's that hurting, that heart that has known so much confusion and not peace. Feel it in your stomach. Feel that depression leaving you. Oh, on this Wednesday night, let's breathe in joy. Oh, feel that joy coming in. Let us exhale anything that isn't joy. That isn't joy. And God of many names, we understand that there are many ways to the mountaintop. And whatever way we are choosing to get there, whether it is by helicopter or tunnel through the tunnel or take a train around the mountain to get there, our goal is still to get to the mountaintop and have that connection with Creator, which is simply love and create. Love and create. And so it is. Promises. Oh, I promise to love and adore you. Why am I ending up in a divorce? Oh, I promise you a promotion. Why am I still at the other end of the total pole? Why, when we're given a promise, we just can't just latch onto it and run with it and be a success? Not all adversity will produce defeat. I'm going to talk tonight about the children of Israel, and we're going to learn some lessons about those folks. You see, back in Exodus, the children of Israel were all given the promise of going into the promised land that would flow with milk and honey. Now, when they were given this promise through Spirit, through God, through Moses, they were told that they were going to experience some difficult times. Now, in the difficult times, we either choose to grow through them or we choose to go through them. So the children of Israel, they were given the promise, and once they had the promise, many plagues came upon the children of Israel that would have discouraged them, right? And finally the Pharaoh said, I've had enough of this. I'm going to let the Israelites leave Egypt. Y'all go now. And they got there, and there was the Red Sea that kept them captive. Principle here. Before we reach our promise and have that provision, there are going to be blockades that come in our way. You know, it's often said there are no free lunches or no free rides. So the children of Israel got up to the Red Sea, and Pharaoh decided, I'm going to change my mind. I want these folks back again. It's pretty good having these folks and using them as slaves and mistreated them. But you see, they had a leader, and the leader had spent time in that quiet place, listening to what Spirit has to say. Now, how do we get a promise? And what's the difference between a promise and eating pizza and going to sleep and having a pizza dream? All of us come to this planet with a unique gift. And when we get here, that unique gift is almost beat out of us. You can't do this. You can't do that. You must look like this. You gotta be with this person. You gotta. It's all about control. And you see, with God, it's never about control. It's about love and create. Love and create. So the children of Israel, what is the lesson there with them? It would have taken 40 days from them to leave Egypt to go into the land that was filled with milk and honey. But it took them 40 years stumbling around, chasing their own tail, bitching and moaning, and still some of them never got the provision of their promise. Just because there's a promise that you have in your heart or in your life does not mean it's going to come to pass. You say, Dr. D, what do you mean on this? It is impatient with God to be troubled about what is present, and angry with God to be troubled about the past. When we are given a promise, we are thrown into the problem to learn the principle, so that when we get the provision, we're going to know what to do with it. Because trouble doesn't develop character, it reveals character. The problem with the wilderness, the problem, your wilderness, how do you conduct yourself in the problem determines how long you're going to stay in the problem. Some of the problems we have or self-induced. What happened to children of Israel? They got their bones bleached out in the wilderness. Some of them died without ever going into the promised land, and it was their children or their children's children that entered the promised land. What happened in there? Now, here's the interesting thing, folks. We always talk about, in 12-step, the God of your understanding. If you create a God, then you're more powerful than the God that you created. Some people say, oh, that flower is my higher power, or that doorknob is my higher power, or whatever is my higher power. Well, that's cool. That's all nice. But how is that higher power going to help you when you need the help, when you've created that higher power? What if we begin to relax and we begin to rest upon and we begin to rely upon what I call the Godness, the Creator, the Divine, the one who put everything into motion, the beautiful skies, the beautiful seas, the beautiful landscape that we see, and we begin to connect with that power, connect with that energy, connect with that love, and in connecting with it, then we get quiet enough to begin to say, dear God, in this problem that I'm in, what is the lesson in this for me? Not like the children of Israel. Oh my God, we're out here in the desert and all we get is this old manna again that's coming to us every day. They weren't even thankful that they were getting fresh manna. They could have had stale, day-old bread. Bitch, 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 bitch. Often you've heard me say an attitude of gratitude will bring about blessing and bring about prosperity greater than anything that I know of. Oh yeah, but I don't really see it happening. No, you don't. Because you're not looking with the spiritual eye, you're looking at the natural eye, and you're not focused on the solution, you're focused on the problem. Let me give you a secret that I know. The person growing through the problem, I said growing, not going. The person growing through the problem is the person who is next for the promotion. Remember Joseph? Joseph was in prison one day. Remember he had been ousted by his brothers. They wanted to kill him. They thrown him into the well. And then the traders came and they took him away. And he went to the Potiphar's house. And he was wearing all the royalty and stuff. You know, sometimes we, what I say, God brings us out to bring us in. And we get in just enough and we get uppity in our attitude. That is us that did it, instead of giving our Creator the gratitude for it. So Joseph's all doing this and that, and a situation was created, and he was thrown into prison. So can I ask you what prison and what chains are binding you? Because you see, it was through these problems that he learned principles so that he would be able to have the provision when he became the Prime Minister of Egypt. Do you want to be the president of a corporation? You want to be the president of a country? You want to be a prime minister? People lead by example. You will learn the principles. What are those principles? 2 Peter says this to us. 2 Peter, the first chapter. 3 and 4. His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life through our knowledge of him who called us by his glory and goodness. Remember, goodness is the extension of godness. Through these he has given us his great and precious promises, so that through them you may participate in the divine nature, having escaped the world caused by evil desires. People fail because they simply do not know how to succeed. The problem is we don't know how to access God's provision. We lack the understanding of how to receive it and what to do with it when we do. You think you can get through a successful life without meditating? How's it working for you? You think you can get through and be successful without giving and just taking? How's that working for you? Philippians, the 4th chapter, 11th verse says it this way: be content with what you have and whom you are, then God will respond. You discontented? What would it take for you to be content? See where you are. See where you are on the spectrum. What's the promise that you have? What's the problem you're in? Oh, Dr. D, the problem is my relationship, and the problem is my marriage, and my problem is, do you think maybe the problem is you don't communicate? You know, one of the Bible principles is this, when in the Old Testament they were talking about divorce, and it says the reason that divorce was granted was because of the stubbornness of the heart. Ooh, ouch. You want your own way in the relationship? You don't want to compromise? You don't want to negotiate? That's the problem. What's the principle in it? The principle is, how do you get rid of the stubbornness? That's part of the problem. The principle is learning to listen to one another, learning to be able to communicate with one another, then talk over one another, be willing to hear one another, to be able to uplift one another. I don't know how many times I've heard people say about their partner, oh, they're such a bitch. Oh my gosh. Really? Then how do you expect them to have any other behavior besides what you're voicing for them? And there is the problem and the solution at the same time. Quit talking like that. And what would happen if you would talk about your partner, you know, this is the best partner that I could have. I adore this partner. We work together so well. Often I've said to you on many of my talks, what you focus on expands. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the solution? You're focusing on the problem. The children of Israel, the problem was the wilderness. Hot, sticky, uncomfortable. The solution was, as we go through the Old Testament, it talks about the 2 spies that went over into the promised land to see what it was really like. You know, we want to see what this is like. Oh no, we're not going to go over there. We're scared. Fear of the unknown. Fear will keep you bound and chained. But if God is for you, who can be against you? When you really lean in to the godness and you learn what is the principle? In the problem, I need to see God in the midst of the problem, knowing that God will grant me wisdom and grant me love to grow through the problem. So Joshua and Caleb, who were the spies that went over, and they come back and they said, oh. He said, there's giants over there, okay? But we're not going to talk about those giants. But there is the land, and it flows with milk and honey, and there's fruit as big as it could be over there, and it's all ours for just going over. Oh no, but I'm afraid of the giants. Can I ask you what seems like a giant hurdle in your life? What seems like it? Now, I'm going to give you a different perspective on this. People like to curse a lot of things and a lot of people. But what if, and I'm just what ifing, what if you looked at the giants in your life? What if you looked at the things that have you bound up? The fears that have you bound up, okay? The habits that have you bound up. And you were able to step back and say, do you know what? Let's take fear. Let's take fear. Fear seems to bind a lot of people. Fear, you know, you've really served me well in the past. But I want you to know, fear, I bless you and I let you go. Fear, I don't need you anymore. Fear, I'm learning how to walk by faith. I'm learning how to walk with my eyes open. I'm learning how to trust. Fear, thank you so much for the things that you taught me. Thank you for the principles you taught me. But I let you go. And in your place, I have brought in trust. Perfect peace we begin to have as we begin to trust that things as they are, as what they are supposed to be in this moment. In a world where there is so much discontent, so much confusion, so much chaos, y'all, we can't do much about the chaos rolling around us. We can't do much about the confusion around us. But what is the principle in the midst of all of it? How you conduct yourself. What is your perception? Ooh, there's chaos all around me. Oh, there's madness all around me. I'm not going to be a part of this. I choose not to be a part of this. I choose to stand in the middle of the storm. And in the middle of the storm, I choose to have my quiet meditation. I choose to listen. I choose to love. Love isn't just an emotion. Oh, I feel ooey gooey about somebody. Love is a choice. Love is a choice. Choose to love, and the feeling will follow the choice that you've chosen. For once again, what you focus on expands. Choosing to walk into the provision, learning the lessons from the problem, choosing to walk in love when the problem shows up as less than love, choosing to show up in kindness, when in the natural sense you want to do anything but kindness. Because once again, how you conduct yourself in the problem determines how long you're going to stay in the problem. The one thing that I have learned, and know this to be true, there is pain in this human existence, but suffering is optional. Yes, there is pain, but suffering is optional. And in the midst of all this trouble, it's not developing your character, it's revealing your character. And until next time, this is Dr. D saying kindness, 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 kindness is the language that the deaf can hear. It really is. And it's the language the blind can see. Be kind to yourself. Be easy on yourself. If you fall down and you scrape your toes and your knees and your face, pick yourself up. It's not how many times we fall down, it's how many times we pick ourselves up. And be in the moment. And one moment with God, one moment with self, one moment with love, one moment in this presence. Dear God, as we close, and just as we listen to the soft music in the background, just let the harmony flow through us. Let the stress flow out of our body. Let the trepidation flow from us. And let us know and understand that as we hook up with you, that the steps of a good man are ordered by you, and you lead us and you guide us in the paths of righteousness. And so it is.